The selection atrium looked nothing like a place meant for living beings. It felt cold, empty, too bright. White alloy walls stretched in perfect lines, and the floor panels shined so clean they reflected shapes like glass. Overhead, thin glowing strips hummed quietly, casting sharp light that made everything look sterile. Digital symbols floated in the air, updating population graphs and assignment numbers in blue and green. It looked like a transport hub, only without color, warmth, or safety. Cade Ryland stood near the front row, his hands behind his back, boots planted firm. His dark work jacket had deep scuffs along the seams, reminders of long shifts at the cargo bay. He didn't move. He didn't lean. He held himself with the stillness of someone who learned long ago that calm body language could control dangerous rooms. He hated being here. The Rebalance Directorate had summoned him twice. He ignored the first message. The second came with a warning about a compliance inspection, and he knew what that meant. Armed visits, forced interviews, unwanted questions. He didn't plan to choose anyone. He only planned to sit, nod, and then walk away. But the moment he stepped inside and saw them on the center platform, his plan collapsed. Two alien sisters stood under the bright spotlights. They weren't tied, but anyone could see they were trapped by rules instead of ropes. The older sister stood tall, chin lifted, shoulders locked. Her skin, a deep rose color, shimmered under the harsh lights. Thin glowing lines traced down her arms and ribs like soft, bioluminescent veins. She wore a black presentation dress that clung too tightly, made to highlight markings, not comfort. Her long white hair fell down her back in waves. Beside her stood the younger one. Lavender skin, small frame, star-like freckles across her cheeks and shoulders. Her teal-wrapped dress looked even more revealing on her, and the way she pressed her hands to her thighs showed she was holding herself together by force. She kept glancing at the exit door, as if trying to burn its place into her memory. The official approached Cade with a slate in hand. Citizen Cade Ryland, Doc Division C7, former tactical planner, discharged with honors. She read the details as if listing parts of a machine. Cade didn't react. His past wasn't the point here. The official continued. You must select one of these sisters for your household integration. The other will be reassigned. Reassigned. Everyone knew what that word really meant. Sedation, endless tests, quiet disappearance. Cade's jaw tightened. His eyes shifted between the two sisters. The older tried to look unbreakable. The younger trembled despite her efforts. He inhaled once, slow and sharp. He wasn't built to watch something cruel happen and pretend it was normal. The official pointed at the sisters. Choose quickly. Cade stepped forward, the lights bright across his face. No, he said. The official blinked. Clarify. I'm not choosing between them. That is not allowed. There's no rule against taking both, Cade replied. My household permit allows multiple dependents. A murmur passed through the room. The official tapped rapidly on her slate, annoyed. There is no direct restriction, she admitted quietly. Cade gave one firm nod. Then it's decided. I take both. Silence dropped across the hall. Cameras hummed. Everyone watched. The official finally exhaled and recorded it. Temporary approval, pending review. Cade didn't care about reviews. He stepped onto the platform and held out his hands, not to pick one, but inviting both. The older sister placed her hand in his first, steady despite the tremor in her jaw. The younger followed, soft fingers curling into his palm like she was clinging to a lifeline. Come with me, Cade said. And together, they walked off the platform, leaving the silent hall behind them. The corridor outside the selection atrium felt completely different from the bright hall they had escaped. The lights here were softer, warm in color, almost gentle. Small floating lamps drifted along the ceiling rail, guiding the way toward the residential ring. The air smelled clean, but not sharp, something closer to fresh water than disinfectant. Cade walked between the two sisters, not holding them, but staying near enough that they wouldn't stumble. Their hands had slowly loosened in his grasp once they stepped outside the hall, as if the heavy spotlight behind them had been pressing on their bodies. The older sister, Lyra, kept her chin raised, but Cade could see exhaustion in her shoulders. The younger one, Sarah, held her arms across her chest, clutching her own elbows the way frightened people try to hold their hearts still. Halfway down the corridor, Lyra asked, "Why did you intervene? You didn't know us." Her voice was low but firm. She wasn't thanking him. She was testing him. Cade didn't look back. Because I know what happens to the one left behind. Lyra's steps faltered. Sarah looked up sharply. What do you mean? Sarah whispered. Cade exhaled through his nose. He kept walking. Their reassignment programs aren't for helping anyone. I've seen the inside of those rooms. People go in with names and come out with numbers. Sarah shivered, pulling her wrap tighter around her small frame. When they reached Cade's apartment, the door opened with a soft click. Inside, warm light glowed from hidden panels along the ceiling. The room was small but lived in. A worn couch faced a wide window showing a river of artificial aurora drifting across the station dome. Shelves held metal cups, storage tins, and a few old books he kept out of habit. Lyra stepped inside first, cautious and alert, scanning the corners as if expecting an ambush. Sarah hesitated at the doorway until Cade nodded gently. You can enter, he said. You're not prisoners. Only then did she step in, her bare feet soft against the warm floor. Cade locked the door behind them. The sisters flinched at the sound. You're safe here, he said quickly. No one can override my lock. Assembly can override anything, Lyra muttered. Not this one, Cade replied. I rewired it years ago. Lyra's eyes narrowed a little, studying him again. He could almost feel her weighing his words against her past. Cade walked to the small kitchenette and filled a pot with water. He dropped in dried seeds that began to release a warm, nutty smell. Then he took out strips of thin meat and set them on a pan. The sizzle filled the room, soft but comforting. Sarah sat on the edge of the couch, staring at the meal in progress with disbelief. Real food? She asked quietly. You'll eat here, Cade said. You'll sleep here. No one touches you. Not unless you choose. Sarah's throat bobbed with a hard swallow. Lyra crossed her arms, standing at the center of the room like a guard. You still haven't answered the real question. What's the real question? What do you want? She asked. Most men at that hall have reasons. Cade didn't look away from the pan. I want you two to stop shaking, he said. That's all for tonight. The answer seemed to strike Lyra harder than she expected. Her posture softened by a fraction, even if she tried to hide it. They ate slowly, cautiously at first, then hungrier as the warmth reached their stomachs. The meat was salty and rich, and the grain biscuits melted soft in their mouths. Sarah's hands trembled until the second bite, when she finally steadied herself. Cade didn't crowd them. He sat on a floor cushion across from the couch, close enough to help, far enough to give them space. After the meal, Lyra leaned back with a long exhale. Her dress still clung to her body, tight and uncomfortable, but she no longer looked like a statue waiting for judgment. Sarah curled her legs under herself, her wrap pulled over her shoulders like a small shield. A quiet peace settled in the room. But beneath it, Cade felt something fragile forming, something like trust trying to grow in thin soil. He stood and wiped his hands on a cloth. The directorate will send follow-up messages, he said. When they do, they'll expect proof you're adjusting. Lyra scoffed. Proof we're useful, you mean? Yes, Cade said simply. But I'll handle them. Sarah's voice was soft. Will you lie for us? I'll protect you, Cade said. If that means lying, I'll lie. Lyra held his stare for a long, tense moment. And if they push harder? She asked. Cade looked at both of them, steady and calm. Then we decide together, he said. Not them. For the first time, neither sister looked toward the door. The station hummed softly outside. Inside, for the first time in a long time, they weren't alone. Morning arrived slowly inside Cade's apartment. Soft green light from the aurora field slipped through the balcony window, painting the walls in quiet waves. Cade woke first, the habit of old training still shaping his mornings. His feet touched the floor silently as he sat up and listened. Both sisters were still asleep. Lyra rested on the couch, one arm across her forehead, her breathing calm but deep. Her black presentation dress was folded neatly beside her, and her new borrowed blanket covered her from waist to ankle. Even asleep, her posture held firmness, a warrior resting, not collapsing. Sarah slept on the padded floor mat near the couch. Her oversized shirt had slipped off one shoulder, and her long white hair splayed across the pillow like soft ribbons. Every few moments, her fingers twitched, as if she still feared someone calling her name in a cold room. Cade felt something tighten in his chest, a protective instinct so sharp it almost hurt. He quietly adjusted the blanket over Sarah's shoulder so she wouldn't feel the morning chill. He stepped into the kitchenette and heated water in a small pan. Grain biscuits softened as they warmed, releasing a sweet, earthy smell. He added thin strips of Torin meat, letting them sizzle. Breakfast wasn't fancy, but it was food. Real food, not the cold nutrient packs the directorate handed out. The sound of the pan finally stirred Lyra awake. She pushed herself upright, hair falling like a loose curtain around her face. "You cook too?" she asked, voice husky with sleep. "When I need to," Kate said. "Warm food helps people start the day right." Lyra walked slowly toward the counter, examining the pot. Her glowing markings dimmed and brightened with her movement. "Shelter food was never warm," she murmured. "Not even once. That's why I'm making it now." Sarah woke next, rubbing her eyes with her knuckles. She sat up quickly when she saw Cade cooking, as if she thought she was intruding. Is it okay if we eat this?" she whispered. "Yes," Cade said gently. "It's breakfast, not a test." Her shoulders loosened. The three of them ate together, quiet but comfortable. Lyra ate slowly, controlling every motion. Sarah ate quickly at first, hunger shaking her hands, until she caught herself and slowed down. Cade watched them carefully, not staring, but observing. He noticed a faint bruise on Lyra's wrist, shaped like someone grabbing too hard. He swallowed the anger bubbling inside him. "Did anyone hurt you during intake?" he asked quietly. Lyra froze for half a second. "We're fine," she said quickly. Cade didn't push. He turned to Sarah. "Did they separate you?" Sarah nodded. "Only for the tests. They didn't tell us why." "They never do," Lyra muttered. When breakfast was finished, Cade stood and grabbed his jacket. "We need proper clothes," he said. "You can't wear those wraps anymore." Sarah looked worried. Are you going out alone?" "No," Lyra said immediately, stepping in front of him. "We go with you." Her voice wasn't rude, just firm, shaped by months of being moved from one place to another with no control. Cade paused. He considered the risks, then nodded. "Stay close." The sisters changed into the clothes he had given them the night before, simple shirts and leggings. Lyra wore a black sleeveless top that showed her glowing lines faintly. Sarah wore a charcoal shirt that brushed mid-thigh and leggings that hugged her small frame. Together, they stepped into the corridor. The station was busier now, neighbors walking, light drones zipping overhead, floating message panels blinking with morning notices. The air smelled faintly like polished stone mixed with citrus cleaner. Sarah held onto the edge of Cade's jacket as they entered the lift. Lyra stood on his other side, chin raised, watching everything with sharp eyes. "You live here long?" Sarah asked. 3 years, Cade said. "Dock work is steady if you don't mind long hours." "Then why did they call you?" Lyra asked. "I ignored their first notice," he replied. "They don't like that." "They don't like consent," Lyra said darkly. The lift opened to the lower market ring. Rows of clothing stalls, kiosks with floating screens, the smell of warm root bowls and grilled meat everywhere. People moved fast, some glancing at the trio, some staring openly. One man whispered, "Assembly property walking free." Cade's shoulders snapped rigid. Lyra moved closer. "Ignore him," she said quietly. "We've heard worse." "You won't have to anymore," Cade said. At the clothing stall, Sarah hesitated before touching any fabric. "Choose what feels right," Cade said. She finally picked a soft gray tunic and deep blue leggings. Lyra selected a dark red top and fitted shorts. Their eyes brightened, not with excitement, but with something close to relief. Cade paid for the clothes, and the three of them walked back toward home. The morning crowd buzzed around them, but for the first time, the sisters didn't look like they were bracing for someone to call their names. For the first time, they walked like people, not assigned subjects. And Cade stayed one step ahead, ready to protect them from whatever came next. The afternoon inside Cade's apartment felt calmer than the night before. Soft light from the aurora field rolled across the walls, giving the room a slow, peaceful color shift. The sisters placed their new clothes onto the couch, folding each piece with careful hands, as if afraid that mishandling anything might make it disappear. Lyra sat on the floor, legs crossed, sorting through the shirts and shorts. She picked up one outfit, examined the seams, then set it aside and reached for another. Sarah folded her gray tunic over and over, smoothing every small wrinkle as though she needed the fabric to stay perfect. Cade rinsed the pan in the kitchenette, but his eyes kept drifting toward the small message slate glowing near the entry door. A message from the directorate. He felt irritation rise under his ribs. Of course they wouldn't wait long. He dried his hands on a cloth and finally walked to the slate. The sisters noticed immediately. Lyra straightened. Sarah froze mid-fold, her fingers gripping the fabric. "What is it?" Lyra asked. Cade tapped the slate. "Their follow-up message." Sarah's eyes widened. Do they want us to return?" "No," Cade said. "Not yet." He opened the message. Only one line appeared. Status confirmation required. Submit preliminary compatibility data within 24 hours. Lyra snorted. "They talk about us like we're equipment." Cade locked the slate and set it aside. "I'll respond later." Sarah stepped closer, worry tightening her shoulders. "They really want proof already?" "They always do," Cade said. "Pressure works for them." Lyra studied him closely, as if trying to measure his confidence. "And what exactly will you tell them?" "That you're settling in," Cade said. "That's all they'll get for now." Lyra didn't look fully convinced, but something in his tone eased the tension in her jaw. The silence that followed wasn't scared, it was thoughtful. Slowly, things were shifting. Yesterday, they had been treated like objects. Today, they were thinking about choices, plans, and what came next. Lyra rose to her feet and picked up the dark red top she had chosen earlier. She pulled it over her head, adjusting the hem. The soft fabric hugged her form naturally, without forcing anything. For the first time, she looked like someone wearing her own clothes, not something chosen for display. "How does it look?" she asked simply. "Better than anything they made you wear," Cade said. A small, quick smirk touched Lyra's lips. It wasn't a smile. She didn't give those easily, but it was something warmer than the hard expression she held in the hall. Sarah slipped into her new gray tunic and blue leggings. The tunic draped beautifully over her shoulders and hips, soft and modest. She twirled once, shy but almost excited. "When we were taken from the shelter," Sarah said softly, "they didn't let us keep anything, not even our old clothes." "That's how they break people," Lyra added. "They take small things first." Cade's grip tightened on the edge of the counter. He had seen too many similar stories during border conflicts. Families pulled apart because a system decided they fit some requirement. "Everything here stays yours," he said. "Nothing leaves this room unless you want it to." Sarah looked at him with a confused softness, as if she couldn't yet believe something so simple could be true. Cade stepped toward the clothing pile and began organizing the rest, stacking shirts and leggings neatly. Lyra watched him with her arms folded. "You're doing a lot for two people you met yesterday," she said. "I've seen what happens when nobody steps in," Cade replied. "I'm not letting that happen again." His voice wasn't dramatic, just steady, shaped by experience and quiet anger at the kind of systems that treated living beings like numbers. A warm chime beeped from the stove. Cade crossed the room, opening a small, warmer compartment. Inside were soft grain squares he had prepared earlier. "You made more food?" Sarah asked, her voice small. "You too need energy," Cade said. "You've been running on nerves." Sarah sat immediately, hands folded in her lap. Lyra joined her, leaning slightly closer to her sister. As Cade set the plates in front of them, a gentle calm filled the room. Not safety. Safety takes time, but something close to it. Trust, growing one careful moment at a time. Sarah looked up at him. "Cade, what happens when they send another message?" Cade met both their eyes. "Whatever comes," he said, "we face it together." Lyra's shoulders dropped a fraction. Sarah's breath eased. The room felt like it finally belonged to all three of them. Outside, the artificial auroras streaked slow green waves across the dome. Inside, a quiet, fragile beginning took shape. And for the first time since the halls of the directorate, neither sister looked like someone waiting for orders. They looked like people learning how to live again. By early afternoon, the apartment felt different, warmer, fuller, almost like it had always been meant for three people instead of one. Shopping bags sat stacked near the couch, filled with clothes the sisters carefully sorted. Sounds of soft breathing, gentle footsteps, and the quiet rustle of fabric made the room feel alive. Cade finished storing the remaining food in the kitchenette when the soft blink of the slate near the door caught his eye. Another message from the directorate. Of course. He wiped his hands and walked toward it, his steps even. The sisters paused instantly. Lyra's hand froze mid-fold. Sarah clutched her tunic a little tighter. Cade tapped the screen. A second line had appeared under the first message from earlier. Failure to respond may result in in-person evaluation. Submit cooperation data. He exhaled slowly. That phrasing meant trouble. He locked the slate and set it down. What did they say? Lyra asked. They want an update, Cade replied. Soon. Sarah's breathing quickened. In-person evaluation? Does that mean they'll come here? Not today, Cade said. They write threats before they act on them. But they will act, Lyra said. Not fear, just realism. Cade nodded. They might. But they won't walk through that door without dealing with me first. Lyra watched him for a long second, like she was trying to decide if he was being brave or foolish. Eventually, her shoulders loosened. We'll handle it, she said. Together. Cade nodded. That's the plan. The tension slowly faded. The sisters returned to their things, though their movements were still tight with worry. Sarah reached for her leggings again, smoothing them quietly. We never had proper clothes before, she said. They always gave us the same wraps, the same colors, like we were items on a shelf. That's how they control you, Lyra added softly. Make everyone look identical. Cade leaned against the counter. You don't look identical now. Sarah's cheeks flushed slightly. These clothes feel normal. Normal is a good place to start, Cade said. A small, careful smile tugged at her lips. The quiet peace in the room settled again, until there was a sudden knock at the door. Not loud, not aggressive, but sharp enough to freeze all three in place. Lyra immediately straightened, her body shifting into a protective stance. Sarah moved closer to her, eyes wide. Cade gestured for them to stay back and walked slowly toward the door. His hand hovered over the lock panel. Do they knock? Sarah whispered. No, Cade said. The directorate never knocks. They announce. The sisters exchanged a confused, hopeful look. Cade pressed the small camera icon beside the doorframe. A grainy screen appeared, showing a short woman holding a delivery drone. She wore a casual vest and had a tired expression. Package depot worker. Nothing dangerous. Cade opened the door halfway, blocking the inside from view. The woman lifted the box. Package for Rylan. Cade signed quickly. Thanks. She nodded and walked away without giving the door a second glance. Cade relocked the door. The blue indicator blinked solid. Sarah released a breath she had been holding too long. I thought it was them. They don't come unannounced, Cade said. When they do arrive, you'll know. The whole hall hears them. Lyra folded her arms slowly. What's in the box? Cade opened it. Inside were 2 sets of soft towels and a fresh air filter he had ordered weeks ago. Nothing important, he said. Lyra rolled her eyes. Your timing is strange. Cade smirked faintly. It's not like I planned to adopt 2 sisters when I ordered it. Sarah laughed under her breath, a small, surprised sound she quickly covered with her hand. Cade carried the towels to the restroom. You can each take one. I like keeping spares. The sisters exchanged a subtle glance, something grateful, something gentle. Lyra walked to the balcony and opened the door. Cool air rushed in, brushing over her glowing markings. She stared at the passing aurora, the colors reflecting along her skin. Sarah joined her at the railing, wrapping her arms around her middle. After a moment, she spoke softly. Cade, what happens when they really do come? Cade stepped beside them, leaning on the railing. Then we follow the same rule, he said. We don't let them decide anything alone. Lyra nodded slowly. You're not scared? I am, Cade admitted. But fear doesn't get to control the room. Sarah looked down at the station levels below, then back at him. We're not used to someone standing with us. Get used to it, Cade said quietly. The words felt heavier than the moment itself, like a promise no system could erase. The aurora shifted overhead, washing the balcony in soft green and blue light. For now, they were together. And for the first time, none of them felt alone in what was coming next. The light outside slowly dimmed as the aurora field shifted into evening mode, washing the apartment in deeper shades of blue and soft violet. The air felt calm, but underneath it all was a quiet tension none of them dared to speak aloud. Cade had the new air filter in pieces across the kitchen counter, tightening small screws and checking every valve with practiced hands. Lyra watched him from the couch, eyes narrowed in curiosity more than suspicion. You know how to fix everything, don't you? She asked. I know how to fix small things, Cade said. The big problems, those take more than tools. Sarah sat beside Lyra, hugging her knees, her long hair resting over her shoulder like a curtain. You fix problems fast, she said softly. You fixed us. Cade paused, screwdriver in hand. I didn't fix you, he said gently. You weren't broken. You were cornered. Big difference. Lyra exchanged a small look with her sister, half surprise, half disbelief, as if words like those were rare in their lives. A quiet chime echoed from the message slate again. All three froze. Another message. Cade wiped his hands and approached slowly, the tension settling across the room like a thick blanket. The update read, Directorate request, schedule home inspection within 48 hours. Non-response will trigger auto-deployment. Sarah's breath hitched. Lyra's jaw tightened. Cade read it twice. They want to come inside, Lyra said, voice low and controlled. Yes, Cade replied. They think we'll fail their test, Sarah whispered. They want you to, Cade said. It's easier for them that way. Sarah wrapped her arms around herself. If they come in here, what will they do? Try to take control, Cade said. Ask questions. Check your behavior. Look for weakness. Lyra's eyes sharpened. And what do we do? Cade lifted his gaze. We stand together. We answer nothing alone. We don't let them isolate either of you. Sarah swallowed hard. Do you think they'll come fast? No, Cade said. They still follow protocol, even when they twist it. Lyra looked at him carefully. You already have a plan. Cade didn't confirm or deny it. I know how their inspections work. They check for three things: stability, dependency, and fear. Sarah whispered. They want us to look afraid. They want you to look like property, Cade corrected. Lyra stood and moved closer to him, her expression sharp. We survived the shelter. We can survive this. I know you can, Cade said. But you're not facing it alone now. For a moment, the apartment fell silent again, except this time the silence didn't feel heavy. It felt like a moment where something was forming, something strong. Lyra walked to the balcony doorway and stared outside. We used to make plans too, she said quietly. Small ones, like how to hide food or how to stay together during the checks. What changed? Cade asked. They stopped listening, she said. After that, we stopped planning. Sarah nodded slowly. Everything was always decided for us. Cade leaned his hands on the railing. That ends here. Sarah looked up, eyes uncertain. What if they don't believe us? They don't have to believe, Cade said. They just have to leave. Lyra turned back to him. You really think we can pass their inspection? Cade shook his head. We're not passing anything. I'm not proving anything. I'm giving them the bare minimum until I find a way to shut their program out completely. Both sisters stared at him. You're going to fight the directorate? Lyra asked. If I need to, Cade said calmly. Sarah whispered. That's dangerous. Cade nodded. Everything worth doing usually is. There was a long pause. Then Lyra took a slow breath. If you're standing with us, she said, then we'll stand with you. Sarah nodded beside her. We don't run anymore. Cade looked between them. Two sisters who, only a day ago, had been treated like objects, now choosing to speak with their own voices. A small spark of pride flickered inside him. Not ownership, not possession, just respect for two people who deserved more than the world had given them. The aurora brightened outside, shining through the glass and casting soft light across their faces. We prepare tonight, Cade said. Tomorrow, we deal with whatever they send. Sarah tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. Cade, if they take us apart during the inspection. They won't, Cade interrupted. I'll be right there. Every second. Lyra stepped beside him, shoulders squared. Then let them come. The three of them stood at the balcony, quiet but united, watching the shifting lights above the dome. For the first time, the fear in the room didn't control them. They controlled it. And something stronger than fear, something unspoken but real, held them together as night settled over the station. Morning returned with colder light. The aurora field had shifted to pale green streaks, thin and quiet, almost warning-like. Cade woke before the sisters again, but this time he didn't move right away. He sat on the edge of his bed, listening to the soft breaths coming from the living area. Today was the day the directorate expected a response. Today might be the day they came. He stood, rolled his shoulders, and stepped into the main room. Lyra was already awake, sitting on the couch, her elbows on her knees. Her dark red top glowed faintly in the early light, and the markings along her ribs pulsed softly. She glanced up the moment Cade entered. You didn't sleep much, she said. Neither did you, Cade replied. Sarah stirred from the floor mat, blinking slowly. She pushed her hair away from her face, trying to wake fully. Her oversized shirt clung to one shoulder, and she rubbed her eyes like someone who had spent the night wrestling with worry instead of dreams. Is it today? She asked quietly. Cade nodded. It could be. Lyra straightened, her expression sharpening. Then we stay ready. Cade moved to the kitchenette and turned on the heating plate. The familiar scent of warming grain biscuits drifted through the room, calming the air just a little. Sarah sat at the table, folding her hands together. Cade, what if they try to separate us during the inspection? She whispered. Cade turned to face her fully. I won't let it happen. They're the directorate, Sarah said. They do whatever they want. Cade shook his head. Not in my home. Lyra studied him from the couch. You're too confident. I'm prepared, Cade corrected. There's a difference. He served breakfast, and the three of them sat together. It wasn't peaceful, but it wasn't panic either. It was something in between, steady, cautious, but strangely united. After the meal, Cade opened the maintenance panel near the door. Inside was a small device, one he had built months ago for emergencies. A manual override blocker, designed to jam forced entry codes for a short window. Lyra stepped beside him. What is that? A delay tool, Cade said. If they try to override the lock, this buys us 5 minutes. 5 minutes for what? Sarah asked. To decide what to do next, Cade said plainly. Sarah swallowed. Lyra nodded once, respecting the practicality. Then, around mid-morning, the slate blinked again. Directorate notice. Field team dispatched for assessment. Estimated arrival, 9 minutes. Sarah gasped softly. Lyra stood so fast the couch cushion shifted. Cade didn't flinch. All right, he said. We follow the plan. Sarah stepped close to him. You'll stay with us the whole time, right? Cade placed a hand on her shoulder. Every second. She exhaled shakily. Lyra moved to the center of the room. What exactly do they look for? Order, Cade said. Calm. Obedience. But we're not performing for them. We're living. That's enough. The knock on the door arrived sooner than expected. Sharp, official, unmistakable. 3 hits. Pause. 3 hits again. Directorate pattern. Sarah froze. Lyra stepped closer to her. Cade pressed the override blocker into place behind the panel, its small light turning red. He approached the door and hit the intercom button. State your purpose. The filtered voice replied, cold and bureaucratic. Directorate Inspection Unit. Welfare assessment for dependents assigned to citizen Cade Rylan. Open the door. Cade's voice stayed steady. Door will open when protocol is verified. Lyra whispered. You're stalling. Yes, Cade whispered back. Just long enough. He checked the sisters. Sarah stood close to Lyra, trembling but holding her ground. Lyra's arms were squared, her weight grounded, her gaze steady. Cade pressed the lock release. The door slid open halfway. 3 officials stood outside, gray coats, slate tablets, emotionless eyes. Behind them stood a security enforcer, armored but still. The lead official looked into the apartment. We are here to confirm functional integration, she said. We require private interviews. No, Cade said. All 3 officials blinked at once. You are refusing standard protocol? The woman asked sharply. Cade stepped forward, blocking their path entirely. Interviews happen together. No separation. Not negotiable. That is outside procedure, she snapped. I don't care, Cade said. You don't isolate them. They stay with me. The security enforcer shifted, but the lead official held up a hand. Citizen Rylan, she said slowly. Noncompliance may trigger reassignment. Sarah's breath caught. Lyra's fists clenched. Cade didn't move. You can file whatever threats you want, he replied. But if you try to take them, you won't get far without making noise. A lot of noise. The kind that reaches the upper committees. The officials exchanged a quick, uncomfortable glance. They hadn't expected resistance. Certainly not from someone who knew the system well enough to challenge it. Finally, the lead official exhaled sharply. We will conduct the assessment together, she said. Cade stepped aside just enough to let them enter. The sisters moved behind him, not hiding, just staying close. The officials scanned the room, checked notes, and whispered among themselves. They asked questions, but Cade intercepted each one, rephrasing and controlling the flow. Every answer they received was calm. Every detail was stable. Every sign showed the sisters were safe. After 20 tense minutes, the officials backed toward the door. Further review will follow, the lead agent said. Expect additional communication. Cade nodded once. We'll be ready. The door closed. Locked. Sealed. Only then did Sarah collapse into a shaky breath, grabbing Lyra's arm. They're gone, she whispered. Lyra exhaled deeply. For now. Cade leaned against the wall, finally letting the tension fall from his shoulders. They weren't expecting us to stand together. That's our advantage. Sarah looked at him with wide, emotional eyes. Cade, you didn't let them take us. I never will, Cade said. Lyra stepped closer, her voice quiet but strong. What happens next? Cade looked at both sisters, the fear in their past, the strength growing in their present. Next, he said, we make a plan to break their control for good. And for the first time, all three of them felt not just safe, but powerful. Together,